Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. I'm back again to tap in with the people. We'll make this brief. Um, Looking at our situation here in America, it seems like it's getting dire and dire and dire more by the day. Every day I get up and I look at the statistics in certain categories. Financials. I look at what's going on state to state with the prison industrial complex. I track the statistics in our educational system with our schools. And when you start looking at the numbers, you start to see some alarming trends. And while we're caught up in social media with rich slaves and broke rappers and dumb street niggas, most of these states, well, I'm gonna say a lot of these states now are starting to build more prisons once again. You saw a big prison boom in the 1990s, and now it seems to be coming back around full swing again. We are in a state of psychosis. And I'm a firm believer that those diagnostic and statistic manual, which is the manual for mental disorders, I think it needs to be rewritten. At one point, the earlier versions of it had homosexuality as a mental disorder, right? For one reason or another, those of us that know, we know that those forces, those lobbies, put pressure on them and made them take that out of there. So for them, that was an upgrade for them. But when we look at what's going on across the country in our communities, particularly black and brown communities and poor white communities, when we look at the programming, because America is all about programming. You know, it's going to program you to be in one category or the other. And when we look at the programming, we see, for those of us that study psychology and social psychology and things of that nature, you can see that we're dealing with a lot of sick people on a daily basis. Some of the people we work with, people we live with, our neighbors, people we come in contact with on a daily basis, our family members. A lot of them don't know that they're sick or they have a mental disorder. A lot of them don't know that they are narcissistic. They don't know they have a borderline personality disorder. They don't know that they have a histrionic personality disorder, a bipolar disorder. They don't know that they're in a state of psychosis, right? But I think on a collective level, collectively, we're suffering from a state of psychosis. And that's why I say that manual needs to be rewritten and updated. The main theme of the word psychosis basically means that you have lost contact with reality. I'm going to say it again. The main theme of that word is that you have lost contact with reality. This seems to be the state of affairs in our communities, right? Many of us are operating and we don't even understand what's going on in the world. We don't understand what's going on in the world. We don't know. We function every day as if we have no worries, right? We function as if we don't have no worries, none whatsoever. We get up in the morning and we hit the blunt before we even brush our teeth. We hit the Don Julio before we brush our teeth. We come to work, we got to hit the blunt before we go to work, before we come into the workhouse. At some point, we have to ask ourselves what's going on with us here. Frances Cress Wilson said one thing. She said that all behavior has a context. We must understand the power that's controlling it. That behavior, your behavior has a context. The task is to find out what's the power that's controlling your behavior. What is the power controlling your behavior? If we're in a state of psychosis, meaning that we have lost contact with reality, what is the reality? In the Islamic scriptures, it answers that question. What is the sure reality? What is the sure reality? And then it goes on to explain to you, you will be made to know what is the sure reality, right? For us that are living here in the wilderness of North America, and mind you, I said the wilderness of North America. The Nation of Islam, under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, called America the wilderness of North America. When you look at America, America is wild. The people are wild. Think about it. The key, the root word of wilderness is wild. The country itself is wild. The people are wild. When you go to other places around the globe, man, and I was just, and I make this reference because I look at documentaries. I study documentaries. I've seen one of Michael Moore's documentaries, and I've seen him interviewing people around the world. And I can recall him talking to one lady, and she said, "No, you can't pay me no amount of money to go live in America." She said, "No, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that behavior for me and mine. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to see that." So other people around the world look at the behavior and they say they want no part of that. They want no part of that. Lately, I've been posting certain things, or I would share certain videos that I see on Instagram or Facebook. And I asked the question to people with one particular video: is this what Martin Luther King and Malcolm X died for? Women brawling, men standing there encouraging it. Younger women brawling like men, ratchet, turned up. They are out of touch with reality. I've posted several other videos over the last few weeks, really over the last few years. Same behavior, just a different location, different city, different town. The common denominator in all of these videos were what? The common denominator in all these videos were African American people, black people, people of color, some Latino, people of color, right? All out of touch with reality. What's the sure reality? What's the sure reality? What's the sure reality? What's the sure reality? Well, gas prices is at $4.60. Some is at $3.99, approaching $4. Some is approaching $5, depending on where you go. Your eggs, the cost of your eggs is up in the grocery store. The cost of your milk is up. The cost of your beef is up. The cost of your utilities are up. Insurance companies are charging more for insurance, whether it's car insurance, whether it's rental insurance, whether it's commercial vehicle insurance, whether it's business insurance. The cost of living is up. The cost of living is skyrocketing. Your bank account is not growing. The wages at your job are not increasing. That's the sure reality. That's the sure reality. Your son cannot read or write at his grade level. Your daughter cannot read or write at her grade level. A lot of fathers are missing from their children's lives. That's the sure reality. A lot of fathers are failing their children. That's the sure reality. So how do we find the time to be out brawling? How do we find the time to be out brawling? At a club, at a store, in the streets, with all of these things stacked against us? How do we find the time? How do we find the time? We have lost contact with reality. Again, we're majoring in the minor. Our sons our sons at 10 years old are having conversations about whether or not they are YNs or not. They are having conversations about what's the characteristics and what the behavior should be of a YN. They're questioning whether they are what's called YNs, which we all know means young Negro or young nigger, right? Part of my language. I was told this by a 10-year-old boy. I was told this by a 10-year-old boy. I had to sit down and have a discussion with him about that. And God willing, hopefully, I headed that train wreck off that's coming. Because that's part of the programming that happens to so many young black males in this society. We started programming at an early age. And so what we're doing is we're indoctrinating them early on with this sickness, with this mental illness. This mental illness of psychosis. That's why I said that diagnostic and statistic manual needs to be updated. Because we got to look more deeper into those symptoms. We see the symptoms every day. We're walking past people every day. And many of us are not educated in that realm, so we don't know how to diagnose it, but there are some of us that are. And we see it clear as day. We see it clear as day. We are out of touch with reality. We've lost contact with reality. We're arguing about Donald Trump, Obama, the Clintons, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. We're on the internet back and forth with each other. Back and forth with each other about their policies, what they're doing, which one is the best. Ain't none of them the best. Republican or Democrat. We got a group that call themselves Chicago Flips Red. Let me tell y'all something. And I see what y'all doing. I can halfway rock with you. But let me tell y'all something. Y'all can tag somebody from Chicago Red, Flips Red. Them people don't give a damn about you. The Republican Party has shown you time and time again they don't give a damn about you. The Democratic Party don't give a damn about you. They've shown you this for over 60 years here in America. So at some point, you grown adults, you grown, educated adults, are going to have to understand and realize that you are out of contact with reality, that you are also suffering from what's called psychosis. It gets no clearer and no plainer than that. How are you talking about flipping Chicago red and they don't give a damn about you? Don't try to go back in the history book and say, oh, the Republicans did this. They ain't done a damn thing for you. And it's the same thing with the Democrats. When are you people going to be upright, independent, and fearless? When are you going to stand on your own? It's time to stand on your own. It's time to form a third party. It's time to form a think tank. You don't have to latch on to nobody else. To hell with them. Get them up out of here. Flip Chicago beige. Flip it purple. Flip it black. Flip it brown. Republicans are represented by the red. The Democrats by the blue. These are the two biggest gangs in the country, followed by the police. The two biggest gangs in the country, followed by the police. The Republicans, the Democrats, and the police. Red, blue, blue. What the police call it, the blue wall, the blue shield. But they blue is not the same as the Democrats. So no, don't flip Chicago red. Flip it black. Flip it brown. Flip it purple. But at all costs, you must get rid of that psychosis you have. At all costs. At all costs, you must get rid of that sickness. You must understand the symptoms of psychosis, which you clearly have. Which you clearly have. And the same thing for you Democrats. Get rid of that symptom that you clearly have. We've had several shootings and killings of children going to prom, on prom night, over the last few weeks, last couple of weeks. One in Indiana, a couple down here in Tennessee. The children are programmed. They're being programmed for death in prison. The children are being programmed for death in prison. And we eating this shit up hook, line, and sinker. The internet is programming them for death in prison. Brain development in a human being does not stop until the age of 25, 26 years old, 27 years old. Technically, at 20, 21 years old, you are in your late adolescent stage. Now, if they're saying that your brain does not fully develop until the age of 25, 26, 27 years, at or around the age of 25, right? This is a ruling from the United States Supreme Court. Look it up. What is the internet doing? What is the internet doing to the brains of our youth? When I look at the youth, when I'm talking about people in their 30s, even the early in their 20s and early 30s, teenagers as well. Everybody look the same. Everybody talk the same. Everybody act the same. Pretty much. It's a very small percentage of ones who don't look and act like everybody else, which tells me that we're in a stage of groupthink. And as we all know, groupthink is dangerous, extremely dangerous, because there's nobody thinking. Everybody's just following. There's some standouts. Those standouts, I salute them. Man or woman, I salute them. I applaud them. But for the rest of them, that's a problem. That's a real problem. Why? Because they have lost contact with reality. So instead of the world being interpreted for them, so that they will understand what's actually taking place in the world, so they will be equipped to make a rational decision on how to deal with this world, how to deal with this stimulus on a day-to-day basis. They're not getting that because the parents are not giving it to them. The adults, the relatives, the older friends are not giving it to them. So now what we're doing is we're committing another generation to poverty, degradation, and neo-slavery. Think about that. We've signed this generation up for neo-slavery. It's just slavery in another form. Slavery by another name. Why? Because they are in a state of psychosis. Why? Their parents and their grandparents are in a state of psychosis. This monster that we have called the internet has given you a vehicle to express your lower nature, to publish your lower nature into the universe with no checks and balances. The most ratcheted, the most disrespectful, the most anti-black, coming from black behavior seeks to destroy us, because that's all it's doing. Anytime you have a 10-year-old, a group of 10-year-olds having discussions about whether they're YNs or not, where they get it from? Where they get it from? They got it from the internet. I talked to them. They got it from the internet. Got it from the internet. And so it's imperative that we start to, understand things for what it is. You may have someone that want to challenge this assertion, but you're not qualified or justified to do that. You're not qualified or justified to do that. You don't read enough. You don't study enough. you're going to talk and act out of emotion. You're going to talk and react out of emotion, not with logic. Not with logic. With emotion. Which means that you have lost contact with reality. The only reality is that America is in a state of transition and is going right along with this plan. They've started a new wave, a newer wave of building more prisons. America is gearing up. They're gearing up, people. America is gearing up for the Great Divide. It's gearing up for the Great Divide. Either you're going to be here or you're going to be here. There will be no in between. It will be the have and the have-nots. And if you think you're going to carjack your way to being rich, you're going to rob your way to being rich, you're going to rap your way to being rich, you're going to scam and scheme your way to being rich, you're going to work a 9 to 5 your way to being rich, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Restaurants are now ordering machines that cooks French fries, machines that flips hamburgers. The food and beverage industry employs roughly a third, if not more, of the jobs in the economy. They are replacing you. They don't want to pay you that $15 to $21 to $22, $23 an hour. They don't want to pay you that. They don't want to pay you that. No. We can't have everybody making $20 an hour, even though that's not enough. Not enough to live on. They can't have that. They would keep somebody's. But you got to understand one thing. For those of you that haven't been to business school, let me teach you something. In business, anything that you pay your employees is considered an expense. And one of the main rules, if you are a business, is to keep your expenses down. If you can keep your expenses down, that's more money for the business, for the ownership, for the shareholders. So they don't want to pay people that. They would rather order the robots and have the robots do their work, which increases their bottom line for the owners, the company, and the shareholders. It's a win-win for them. But for the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that will be put out of work, and I'm just talking about just that industry. You all can go look on Bing or Google or any of the other search engines and look at the type of jobs that's going to be eventually affected because of AI. I know the list. I know the entire list. I know some places that's already in effect. But go look that up. Now, I just talked about one in the food and beverage industry, losing the restaurant and losing all those people eventually at some point. Look at the other industries. Now you tell me, what are all these people gonna do to survive in America? What are they gonna do? What are you gonna do? Because at this point, no one is safe. No one is safe. See, that's the sure reality. That's what many of us have lost contact with reality. That's the reality. We have lost contact of that. We've lost contact of that. We're not making or manufacturing anything. We lost contact of that. And so we can keep getting caught up on the internet all day, playing, not making any progress. We can keep on dealing with these men and these women who not adding any type of value to our lives. We can just keep playing the game, and we're gonna see how far it's gonna get you in life. But I can promise you, it's not gonna get you far. It's gonna have you in a situation where either you're gonna be food for the fire, and the fire that I'm talking about is either the graveyard or the prison cell. That's just a reality. It's just a reality. You know, so I think we have to understand what's really going on, and we got to understand that we're in a state of psychosis, and at some point we're going to have to collectively come out of that. The only way we're going to come out of that is that we have to have these uncomfortable conversations about it, what it is, what it looks like, how we can get ourselves out of it. You know, the behavior modification that needs to take place to ensure our survival. But at all costs, you're gonna have to have these conversations. It's imperative. I'm gonna be doing a series of these talks about the issues that's pressing us. I want to do one on crime and punishment, and I want to do one on how our boys are being programmed for prison. I think those will be my next two topics this week. Look for me. I'll be tapping in. I got a lot to get off, and it's imperative, man, that we have these conversations. Probably tomorrow, I might demonstrate on how our boys are being programmed for prison, programmed for death, and I might do crime and punishment the day after. It's imperative, man, that we know what psychosis looks like. Google it. But keep in mind what I said. That diagnostic and statistic manual needs to be updated. It needs to account for what we see in the general society, especially amongst our people. again, the biggest talks on the internet, Gucci Mane and Pooh Shiesty. No Jumper. This podcast. This financial guru. Their beefs. This person beef. This person beefing. These gang members dissing. These gang members fighting, killing. This guy said this. He don't like this. How does this help add value to your life? How does any of this help to increase your bank account? How does any of this helps to increase your brokerage account? How does any of this show you how to acquire a brokerage account? How does any of this prepare you to perform better at work? How does any of this show you how to be a better father, a better husband, a better spouse? A better girlfriend, a better wife, a better fiance, a better friend? It doesn't. It doesn't. Which means we're majoring in the minor. We're focused on those things, and our quality of life is in decline. Make it make sense.